again, sizing up Murphy, drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked, what a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is New York. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Uncontested post-game show on a Wednesday evening, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and Prairie Artisan Ales. As you can see on my little shirt here, just got a little.
Who is that guy?
Little sexy guy, I guess.
Damn.
I'm your host on this Wednesday evening, JD Silva, joined by one fella. It's Nick Crane,
the one and only fella.
We're getting back into the swing of things after the holidays. First week back to work. We're back podcasting. Before we get started into this game, very, very, very exciting game. Be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating if you haven't done so already. You can follow us across social media, here on YouTube. You can follow us and subscribe to our Patreon. You'll see that in the description of this episode, and you can scan this here QR code above my head if you're watching the video feed here. We have a lot of fun on there. You can get extra content. You can hop into our Discord, chat about the Thunder, chat about whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that gets talked about in there that I don't even know about. Yeah, we have a good time. We have a good time in there.
It's a lot. It's. I mean, I said this in the text thread earlier between us on this pod of. Man, I put a comment in there in the Discord, and I went to grab a glass of water. It's like 7:15 at night today, and I come back, and there was so many messages that I just scroll up like 11 times to see what the most recent reply to my message was. Like it is popping in there on game day, especially.
It is. Let's get started. A lot to talk about.
Lots.
Thunder Chick, what a compliment. Thunder Chick says Nick and JD are the most soothing after a loss, I think. How about that?
Wow.
Couple of soothing guys.
Hashtag blessed.
Thunder, Nick, a lot of times when a sports team loses that I like, I say, well, you can't win them all. The Thunder really put that number to the test. They were like, hey, maybe they can win them all, actually. They were, 30-5? Well, and on a 15-game winning streak, mind you, the best in franchise history, that winning streak comes to an end against a team that is similarly having an insane season in the Cleveland Cavaliers. 32-4 now. Thunder lost to the Cavs tonight in Cleveland, 129-122. I mean, the game felt like I was chugging a Red Bull like the entire time, essentially. It was as advertised. The NBA, we've had a lot of critiques of the NBA for not promoting the Thunder, not promoting small markets, et cetera, et cetera. If you went to the NBA social media platform, I was on Twitter, scrolling their Twitter, it's just nonstop Thunder, Thunder, Thunder. They literally posted top 25 reasons to be invested in this game tonight. I've never seen that before. And
are you off of Twitter? Are you off of Blue Sky now and you're back on Twitter? Is that what's
I kind of am. Yeah. So it was like, here's what happened. Blue Sky, 20 seconds on this, by the way. We can move on. Blue Sky was popping, and then a major event happened, which was the Kendrick album dropped. And that was the divide where it's like, oh, everyone's going back to Twitter immediately to discuss the big event. And every large event, people are just still going back to Twitter. So got to be where the people are. But
Elon wins again.
That son of a bitch. This game, as advertised, the most fun I've had watching a basketball game this season. Outside of the Celtics game I went to on Sunday, that one was pretty badass. But initial impressions, what do you have for us, Nick?
I have a lot of thoughts.
I don't have many. I don't feel bad.
No,
I don't
you shouldn't.
feel like
shouldn't.
No,
you shouldn't.
I don't feel negative. I don't feel depressed.
No. I mean, like, this is gonna sound like if there's any Cavs fans in the comments, they're gonna say cope. But like the reality is, like, if you look at this from an unbiased perspective, if you're a Wizards fan watching this game, the reality is Cavs were fully healthy besides like one two-way player, I think. The Thunder were out Chet and Caruso. who are like two of their top 6 or 7 guys. It went wire to wire. It was a phenomenal game. A lot of the ways the Cavs gained an edge would be mitigated by the presence of the players Oklahoma City was missing. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about AJ Mitchell. Not that he should be, like, the same way we're talking about AJ Mitchell being missed. Cavs fans are probably saying, "Who the hell is that guy?" You know,
Yeah.
he could have made a difference. Like, there's a real chance he could have, but like Chet and Caruso absolutely would have. To lose this team, I think it was 7-point spread at the end.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot closer than that. Like, the last 2 minutes were kind of mucky. There was like a possession that had like 2 offensive rebounds and a loose ball foul that was called on Shai, followed by a loose ball foul called on Donovan Mitchell that was the exact same, that was challenged, reversed. It was super weird. Like I've had some people in my comments like, the refs rigged this game. Like, no, like, it was a good game. I would argue it was a lot closer than 7. Like, that was really 1 or 2 possession game late. And if anything, I think what that tells you, like, if Oklahoma City would have been blown up by 20 in this game, like the NBA Cup, I think you start to question, like, man, can they be elite against the best of the best without Chet and Caruso? I think conversely, what this told us was, holy shit, like, even without Chet and Caruso, they go toe to toe with the elite of the elite. They did it against Boston, beat them. They did it against
New York
Knicks, who have lost a few straight. Like, I don't know if they're a very good team nonetheless.
That win looks a little less good now.
Yeah, but still, and like 15-game win streak, you're 6+ games over everybody else in the West, and the West is a gauntlet. Like, to me, this told a lot about this team. I think it exposed some weaknesses that, again, I think will be plugged by Chet and Caruso, but like, you also can't rely on your roster being fully healthy in the playoffs. I think that's my biggest, it's a whole other rabbit hole. My biggest pushback on the Thunder don't need to make a trade is like, yeah, if everyone's healthy, sure. Like, you could trade for a guy that'll be your 12th man or 11th man when fully healthy, but the reality is you can't bank on that. And I think there's a few things tonight that were pretty bright, that when you have a team that is down a player or two, especially at that caliber, there's an issue. So I guess I'll wrap it up with this, and I'll let you talk about it for your initial takeaways. I thought this game would go one of 2 ways. It was either going to be a defensive brawl. Cavs are number 1 offense in the league for what it's worth. Oklahoma City, obviously, number 1 defensive. Cavs also are very good defensively. Oklahoma City is not great offensively. Like, they're fine. I thought this would either be like a 96-99 win, or it would be a blowout one way or the other. Ended up being a shootout, which was not on my bingo card. Like, if you would have told me it was 2 teams in the 120s, I would have said, what happened? Because if you would have told me the Cavs scored 129, I would have told you the Thunder got blown out, because they're just not built to win a shootout.
No.
I just did not see the game going this way. But conversely, credit to the Thunder for staying in a shootout, because there's not been a lot of games where they have to score 120 something to be in a game. Like, I think they're 16 or 17-0 in games they hold their opponent under 100. That's over half their damn games almost. Like, that's a different kind of game than Oklahoma City's played. But it's a good test. It's a good experience. And I think that everybody in the locker room, from Mark down to, I would say Brandon Carlson, he's not there anymore, from Mark down to whoever you have as your 14th man, that's a game that I think they're on the locker room saying, like, they're more motivated from it. They learn stuff from it. Like, no one in the locker room's moping or sad. So if you're listening to this and you're upset about this loss, you shouldn't be either. Like, they got beat barely by the best team in the NBA without 2 of their top 7. So that's what I got.
Yeah, this was 2 historically good regular season teams meeting. One team was missing a couple of very important pieces and still played their ass off and played as good a game as I could have hoped. I was so nervous about this being another Milwaukee in the Vegas finals type of game, because that game was so bad. And credit to the Thunder, they made me, and I think they made a lot of people, they've been so good since that game and around that game that I forgot about it. I forgot how bad I felt and like angry I felt after watching that game. that they've proven a lot of doubters wrong. Like the Celtics game, the Knicks game, the way they won those games was very convincing, and the way they just choked the life out of their opponents with the defense. But like you said, this was a different style of game where usually the Thunder defense is so good that they can drag their opponent down to play their style and keep them under 100 points or right around 100 points. Like you said, this one was different, and I think I just want to talk about things that we can take away from this game. One thing I can take away from, I am a little uncomfortable where if the Thunder do get in a situation like this, where it's a high-scoring affair, how do they keep up? There's always that. Do you believe in the saying, good offense beats great defense? Like, do you believe in that general sentiment? Because I kind of do as well. And tonight was.
I do. I think that in a 7-game series, this is a great example of two teams that exemplify this. In a 7-game series, I think very good offense will beat a good defense 3 times. I think really good defense will shut down an offense 3 times. What happens in the 7th? And that's really where it comes down to, like, is one team's defense marginally good enough to outshine in one game, or is the other team have the offensive piece? That's my biggest pushback. Like, I'm not the kind of person that goes on social media and like posts things to get like bait people, but I've had a few trade candidates that I've tweeted out of late. One of them, Malik Beasley, who's no longer available because he's been awesome for the Pistons.
Like
but when I tweeted about it 3 weeks ago, everybody said he can't play for Mark. He doesn't play defense, and it's like, sure, but like sometimes not everyone has to be an all-world defender. Sometimes you need a little something different that the team doesn't have. And this is a game where, like, if Malik Beasley, instead of being 5 of 6 from deep, like Max Strus, could be 3 of 6 from deep, instead of like Isaiah Joe being whatever he was, you might win that game. Like, not to say I would trade Isaiah Joe for Malik Beasley to be clear, but like those are the marginal moves that I think, even if the Thunder's fully healthy, Malik Beasley may play 10 minutes a game. But maybe in one game, that 7th game, when you need something to swing, or you're down 8 early and need offensive punch, maybe he wins you that one game with the big hot streak. And that is the difference for a team in a deep postseason run.
I totally agree. There's just a lack of highly willing shooters on this team, like volume, quick release, like gunners.
Yeah.
Isaiah Joe is kind of that guy, but he's not like the ideal, fully actualized version of that guy.
Yeah.
Like we all kind of want him to be that. And there are nights, moments, quarters where he can be that for sure. But there's still a difference between Isaiah Joe and a 6th Man of the Year candidate, or take it a step further, like a Cam Johnson, who is a total professional, making $20+ million.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a difference. There's a little bit where it's the end of the game. You really need offense. And it's like, Kenrich Williams, can you deliver? Or Isaiah Joe, can you deliver?
Right.
Or Lou Dort in this game. Like, there were some late game possessions taken up by those 3. And it's like, could you have someone a little better there?
Well, it's weird. And by the way, I hope you saw my dramatic pop of the can for my Patches by Prairie. Last year, I think there was 3 or 4 guys probably that I would say on a given night you could rely on being maybe not like the like hot trigger guy, but like if he's shooting it, he's probably going to make it. Isaiah Joe last year, unreal from 3. The Cavs have that this year. And like we talked about on the pod Sunday, I think, or maybe the Sunday before, where if you look at their shooting splits, they have a bunch of guys above 40 that doesn't feel sustainable.
Yeah.
And then they did it tonight with a few guys. I agree with you though. Like there's a big difference. And now we're getting to like trade talk after. We should not be getting into trade talk because of one game. This to be clear, this little mini segment offshoot is not a offshoot because they lost a game. It's just because we're talking about the weaknesses and the things that shine in this game. Like Cam Johnson making 20 with incentives, like could be up to like 27 million, versus an Isaiah Joe who makes, in the 10 to 15 range, like that type of player. While they're both great shooters, and they both in a given year probably would shoot around the same shooting percentage, the reason Cam is making 20 plus, like you mentioned, Silva, is he's a professional shooter. He is
Yes.
not only is he 5 inches taller, he ain't scared to shoot it, and from deep and on the move and in big moments and down the stretch, and can also play some really damn good defense. But like there is a different level, and I don't know if it's a confidence thing or a green light thing. But yeah, like I think Smoot in the chat said 2 for 6 from 3 for Isaiah Joe. Like, this is probably a night when it's a shootout. Joe probably should have taken 9 or 10 threes.
Yeah.
And a guy like Cam Johnson will every single night.
Mhm.
But like, and this is not a comparison to the two per se, but like,
It's a mentality thing.
their shooters need to shoot the ball more. Even Dub, there's so many times he just like catches, there's a rhythm shot, he doesn't take it. That's a whole
Yes.
different story. He's not a complimentary scorer, but Cleveland's complimentary pieces, Ty Jerome, Max Strus, even Niang, who had some really bonehead plays and some bad fouls. The dude can stroke it, and he's not afraid to.
No.
And that's just like it's a mentality thing, I think.
Yeah. Can I just say on that trio of dudes specifically, they all look like they could be cousins or like different Pokemon evolutions. It's like the same guy. It's just the same guy, 3 different gradients. And
That's so
one of
true.
them, all three of them killed us kind of in their own little ways. And it feels like the Thunder, Wiggins has kind of been that lately.
Yeah, he has.
He kind of has. But like, you need a guy that can put up. I was looking at the Celtics, for example. They have a lot of dudes that take a lot of threes on their team, like 5+ per game.
Yeah.
Like Al Horford takes 5.5 threes a game. We talk about Kristaps and Chet, you would think similar archetype of player, but Kristaps is more offensive leaning. Kristaps, as soon as he gets the ball, it's going up. Whereas Chet, it's not the case. Their skill sets are similar, like on the eye test standpoint, but different. And that's that's like a wrinkle that the Thunder, I think, are missing. And to steer it back to like the Thunder a bit, I think some of these guys might evolve into that. That might be what Presti and Mark are kind of banking on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I wanted to ask you at some point if you think the Thunder will make a trade, but I don't know, this discussion is good regardless.
No, I think you have to thread the needle on believing in what you have long term, but also realizing the opportunity you have in front of you. Like, there's a world, and we'll just keep Cam Johnson because he's like the popular name people like to talk about for the Thunder, and like he's the guy that people know move the needle. There's a world where you Oklahoma City trades Aaron Wiggins or Isaiah Joe and some pieces, picks, whatever it might be, for Cam Johnson, and they don't win a title during his current contract. And Aaron Wiggins at 25, 26 now could be like by 29, he could be Cam Johnson, like straight up. And you could be, damn, like that would be like, we could be talking on our podcast in 2028 and saying, man, wish Wiggins was still on the team. But the flip side is like, you could fall short in the Western Conference Finals this year. You could lose in the finals next year. All of a sudden you're, Chet and J-Dub are on maxes and Shai's a couple of years from an extension, and those conversations starting to happen. You still haven't won a title. And you're like, what if the Thunder had just said, screw it and traded for Cam? You know what I mean? Like there's a needle you have to thread on. Yes, I 100% believe Mark and Sam think that Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and AJ Mitchell and these guys could be those guys. But there's the whole flip side of like, you're 30-6 now after losing to 31 and 32-4 team. You are a contender. You are the favorite by a mile to come out of the West. And that's it's not my call to make. It should never be my call to make. Those people in the Thunder front office are 10 times smarter than me, and there's a reason they're sitting in the chairs they are. And they're having these conversations. There's no doubt. But when January 15th comes along, and a week from today, and those two guys are eligible for trade, I don't know. I just think it's something you got to think about.
It is. I think if you polled the members of the Uncontested, you and I might be the hottest on the Thunder making this kind of trade.
Yeah.
Because nightmare scenario, This didn't happen in the same way, but like the PJ Washington thing, he was very gettable. And you can argue if he was a Thunder guy or not.
But he's very similar to Cam in terms of like stature in the league and in
Yeah.
doing big things on a bad team. Like, can he do it on a good team?
Mhm.
Well, he sure as hell did. If the Mavs didn't trade for PJ Washington, they probably lose to the Thunder last year in the second round. And Luka's disgruntled, and now they're having this season. Everyone's talking about, is Luka going to ask out? Like, it's little things that change the trajectory of a franchise.
Like, what if another team of the Thunder's ilk trades for Cam Johnson? Like, it's the Rockets or the Grizzlies or whoever.
Yeah.
And then they beat the Thunder in the playoffs. I'm flying to Puerto Rico. I'm not coming back. That would be a nightmare. So there's to coin. I mean, Sam Presti said this before: "Scared money don't make none." And this is kind of one of the things where, I'm sure they're evaluating.
I think that, and they know this, the way the Thunder drafts and the way and the number of picks the Thunder has to make draft picks and be flexible, and either it's making trades for guys in the future or drafting guys in the future. I'm not discounting the value of an Aaron Wiggins or an Isaiah Joe or an AJ Mitchell or a Dylan Jones or any of the names, Kendrick Williams, all phenomenal players that have a chance to be on this team for a long time and win titles.
Ideally, you'd keep them all because they're great dudes.
Ideally. But given the Thunder's track, not all those guys are drafted by the Thunder either, but given their track record and the number of picks they have, you have to feel pretty good that if they traded like 2 or 3 of those guys for Cam Johnson, they could get 1 or 2 of those archetypes back. They can contribute pretty quickly within a year or 2.
Yeah. One of them might be hurt on the bench right now in Nikola Topic.
Yeah.
Could be another one of those guys. Like, there's 3 picks in this next draft they could have where it's just, I don't know.
Shit. AJ Mitchell was not a pick they had going into the draft. They traded Lindy Waters and some cash to move up twice and get him. Like, the Thunder scouting department is amazing at what they do. That's why I am more team go get if you're Sam Presti and you believe this guy moves the needle, you go do it and you move the needle because you can replace the guys you're trading him for with the many levers that you have in the future. Longevity is not a concern. The Thunder could trade for Kevin Durant at the trade deadline and give up a haul for him. Not that he's worth it, or they should give a haul for him. Yeah. And their future is still probably one of the brightest in the entire league from a draft compensation standpoint.
Yeah, and it feels like their margin of error from a team building front office standpoint is as large as it could possibly be.
They can kind of mess around and find out. And finding out might be a title. Finding out might be, darn, this didn't work, but guess what? You're still crazy young with your core 3. The core 3 is really all that matters, to be honest with you. With roster turnover in 5 years and 4 years, players 6 through 10 on this team will not be the same as they are today. It's just the reality. No. It's not going to be.
Some teams turn over their roster like every year.
Completely.
Like the Sixers, there's like 3 guys on the roster, I think, that Joel Embiid played with last year.
Yeah.
And the Thunder have so much continuity. And I think you and I both value continuity and see why the Thunder value it also, the whole culture thing. But you got to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah. But, I mean, like I would also I think now we're like not even talking about the Cavs game, which is fine, but
we'll get back to it.
You think about like the history of moves. The Mavs, like last year, the Mavs are not in the Western Conference Finals without PJ. Couple years prior, the Nuggets do not win the championship without the Aaron Gordon trade, which didn't work the first year.
No,
but it worked the second year. You sometimes just have to go for it. Same with the NFL, dude. Like now we're getting way off the tangent, but like it seems like the team that wins the championship or the Super Bowl in the NFL every year makes some move that like moves the needle. And it's the guy that everyone's like, do you really want to give up your first round pick for that receiver? Do you really want to give up your first round pick for this? Do you really want to sign OBJ, who's washed, and then he has a touchdown and 79 yards before he tears his ACL in the Super Bowl with the Rams and they win it? Like sometimes you just got to say, go.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
But that was just, we're just being real with the listeners. Like there's not many negative things. I don't think any part of the discussion we have was negative and like we're slamming the table like things are bad, things are bad. We're just being opportunistic. I think we're both feeling opportunistic after the game. Yeah. Something else I'm feeling opportunistic about and just good about in general. I've had some concerns in big games with Jalen Williams. He struggled in the playoffs last year. He has struggled in some big games.
Yeah.
The Celtics game I saw in person, struggled in.
Yeah.
Tonight he did not. He was kind of the most important player in the game next to SJ, obviously. But he was kind of the guy for much of the game. Ended up scoring 25 points on 9 of 17, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, etc.
Say that field goal attempts line again.
9 of 17, 25 points.
That is efficient. Yep. Is that the number of shots you'd like to see your secondary star take? Is my question to you.
SGA took 27.
I'm not saying he should take shots from Shai, but I'm saying in a game where you're cooking and you're efficient, even a game you're not efficient, like I think J-Dub, especially without Chet, should be taking more than 17 shots a game. That's just me.
I'm with you. My mic just unplugged, but I think I was able to listen kind of like through my laptop in the meantime. No, I agree. And J-Dub's a third-year guy, so it's kind of like take some time. You like that. We all love the shots he takes. He takes good shots. He never forces it too much. But yeah, there were some moments where it's like he's got it. He's got an opening, and he doesn't take the shot. There's just a little moment of hesitation. And we'd probably be complaining. Chet is similar, but we don't look to Chet for the scoring necessarily. Like a lot of people think Chet's the second best player. I kind of would agree with that, but we're not looking at him to put up 20 shots a game either. His impact comes differently. And it's interesting, like the Cavs, comparing the shot attempts, none of the Cavs guys put up that many. Like J-Dub would have put up the most shot attempts on the Cavs roster, but much different situation there. They have like a big 4. The Thunder right now, that's like 2.5.
They have that, and they also have a hot bench that we saw tonight. For the most part, there's a couple guys on the bench that were like not very efficient, but I can you do some quick math? I think both teams had 4 guys off the bench play. What were the shot attempts for both benches?
Let me see. Max Strus, 7 attempts. Ty Jerome, 7 attempts. Let me just give 14. You the lines because they're 6 of 7 for Max Strus, 6 of 7 for Ty Jerome, 3 of 9 for Karis LeVert, 0 of 2 for Isaac Okoro, 1 of 5 for old George Niang, the minivan.
30 shots off the bench for Cleveland. Now list the Thunders.
Yeah. Aaron Wiggins, 5 of 7.
Okay.
Isaiah Joe, 2 of 6. Kenrich Williams, 2 of 4.
Okay.
Jay Will, 1 of 1. So 18 shots versus, what did we say, 30?
30.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
It's a very big difference. Especially when 2 of their guys are just hot as hell. Which is, to your point, J-Dub would have been their highest shot taker, but it's their load was a bit more distributed. And for good reason. Like, that's kind of how they play offense. This is the first game all season where I talked about this after the Celtics game, where when you're a really good team and you play somebody else that's good and they do something that's good, you're like, hey, like that's our thing. We do that. Yeah. The Cavs cooking the Thunder's defense with back cuts and off-ball movement. I think the Thunder were like, wait, I thought that was our thing. You guys are really good at this. And it was the first time all year where I'm like, man, this team is maybe better at cutting and getting to the right spots when they don't have the ball in their hands as Thunder. Like that was really impressive. The Cavs, there's a reason they're number 1 in the NBA. It's not just because they shoot a lot of threes and they make a lot of threes. They move really well. They distribute the ball. Probably 70%, 80% of their shots were assisted on. They distribute the load. It's a balanced offense. They go to what's working. They clearly saw Mobley and Allen were getting their buckets. They kept going. Like they know what they're doing offensively. Kenny's been doing an awesome job there.
Yeah, I gained a lot of admiration for the Cavs because I watched them in person last year, and they looked nothing like this, to be honest. Like to coin a famous term on this year podcast, Chet made Evan Mobley look like a little boy.
He did. Yeah.
And Chet wasn't in this game, but Evan Mobley, even against iHeart, such a different player under Kenny Atkinson. They are so much more. He is so much more dynamic offensively. Like he was bagless as recently as last season.
Yeah,
but I mean, he hit a clutch bucket just straight up driving on iHeart at the end of this game. Like he's
really good.
I think they're real. I think they're real. Like some of their shooting is pretty abnormal. Like all their guys shooting over 40%. It's kind of like the Thunder did last year, like you said. But and Mobley is kind of the difference maker, I think.
It's just a weird team because, like, yes, rosters change and it's not the same complementary pieces, but like, this is the same Cavs team that a couple years ago everyone was talking about, like the Thunder, where they're like young and up and coming, and then like fizzled out for a little bit. It was like, that was kind of some blurb, they're not that good. And now they're back, and it's like, okay, now do we buy them again? Memphis is kind of the same way. There's more injury related. I think the Cavs are just like, they just weren't, like you mentioned, you watched them last year. They were a good team. They were not this, and their personnel is not that different. Like if you're telling me Ty Jerome last year's ankle injury and not playing much and now being healthy is the reason the Cavs are good, like get out of here. It's a unique thing. I would still take the Celtics, gun to my head, chips on the table in Vegas, however you want to say it. I think the Celtics come out of the East still. Yeah, they're good, man. They're very good.
And that's with Donovan Mitchell did not have a good game.
No.
Finished 3 of 16. Yeah. The Thunder did as good. They played as good a defense as possible on Mitchell. Garland also. But Garland's awesome, dude.
Garland's good.
He was unhealthy last season as well. Like with they mentioned on the broadcast, like a death in the family, the broken jaw, lost like 15 pounds from having the broken jaw. And I have jaw issues myself, and I cannot imagine a broken jaw.
Yeah.
That would be hell on earth.
Yeah. I mean,
he's awesome.
I had a men's league game yesterday, and I had like a long day of work, didn't sleep all the night before. And I was like at tip off, like, man, I don't even want to be here. I can't move. My legs kind of hurt. I'm tired. I'm sluggish. These dudes do 82 games in the regular season going through that stuff with like way more significant personal things and injuries that there's injuries for 90% of the league that are not on the injury report that guys are dealing with. Like my knee hurts, my hamstring is kind of messed up, can't really move my shoulder that well. And they just play through it. Like good for him getting back healthy and balling, because he looked like a different speed on the court tonight than the rest of the guys on the court. He was fast. He was amazing.
It was fast.
Yeah.
He even made like Lou is such a good defender, but against really quick guys, they can sometimes get around him. He's really good at guarding up.
Yeah.
They almost don't have someone. Caruso would be the guy to guard him, I think. Everyone else is really good at guarding up.
You know who'd be really good at guarding Garland is AJ Mitchell.
Damn it.
Because he gets in your grip. He's not necessarily like the quickest footed. Like nobody's quick enough to stay in front of a guy like Darius Garland. But I think AJ, what makes him so good is like for any ball handler to get their top foot over, create that advantage with their first step, and then use their blow by speed. The only way to counter that is to like be up in them and then like kind of work with them and use the angles to your advantage. That's what AJ's so good at, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a lot of things that you can look at with this game and kind of say, well, all this stuff happened. Like SGA was in foul trouble. iHeart was in foul trouble.
That's huge, by the way. Speaking of Garland,
huge.
where do you feel like he made the biggest impact from the floor when he took his shots? In the restricted area, around the paint, kind of mid-range. He had some threes too.
Like wraparound passes.
Yes. And all of the things he did, not that he wouldn't do them if this wasn't the case, but there were at least 2 or 3 like floaters or layups where Hartenstein just like straight up was like, I can't jump with you. I had 4 fouls. I can't.
No.
And that stuff adds up. Yeah. Stuff adds up.
It does. So there's that thing happened. The injuries for the Thunder. There was Ty Jerome going God mode in the fourth quarter, and he just like floater over and over again.
Oh, he
Max
missed one
Strus-
foul.
Yeah. Max Strus, 5 of 6 from 3. That dude gets up for big games. Like he did that to the Celtics when he played for the Heat over and over again. I don't know. They just have a lot of like big game role players randomly. Even George Niang, whose nickname is the minivan. I was reminded of tonight.
No way.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be your nickname on the court. I feel like you and Niang have a similar game.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm just
feel
out
like
of shape and only shoot threes.
No, it's like you guys are like the same player.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Max Strus, I thought he was awesome tonight. He does get it for big games. I mean, he got a pretty solid bag from the Cavs to come over and play long term here. They're a good team, and they deserve all the credit. We've mentioned a few things that sound like discounting the Cavs. We're not discounting the Cavs. They're awesome.
No.
But the fact that the Thunder, no AJ, no Chet, no Caruso, 4 fouls. Shai had to go sit for a bit in the third that he normally wouldn't. Hart couldn't play physical defense on the inside. There was multiple Garland attempts he couldn't contest. There was a couple of Mobley and Allen dunks and layups and offensive fouls and putbacks that you could just tell it was just like he just couldn't play physical. It's a whole different game.
Double, by the way, Hart.
Yeah, he's really good.
He was incredible. There was a stretch in the fourth where he was just totally dominant and was able to. The Cavs were like up 7 and like him alone, just facilitating from the mid post, grabbing all the rebounds.
Yeah,
but he was 2 assists away from a triple double. I'd have to look it up to see if he had ever had a triple double before.
I wish the NBA could flex games on different dates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Given the Thunder probably won't have their guys back, Caruso maybe, Chet, there's no way for next week.
No.
Let's flex this game to March 2nd. You know, let's see these teams fully healthy later, and like that would be fun.
I can't remember a game where I wish both teams were healthy playing. Like it
was still sick though.
It was still sick.
I saw people from every fan base tweeting about how sick this game was and how the NBA is not doomed, and the reason that people say the reason the ratings are down and people don't like the game is because they're watching the teams that are being put on the TV, which half the time are teams that are not good.
Mid.
Like you're watching Lakers Suns on ESPN on Saturday night, and you're like, this is the NBA. This sucks. Well, no kidding. Both those teams are not very good, and they don't play a great brand of basketball. But then you watch this game, and it's like, oh, you know what? If you actually play the right teams on TV, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Dude, ESPN ran a promo during a timeout that was like prime time basketball. It's the Knicks and the Sixers, and followed by the Heat and the Lakers. And Richard Jefferson was like, yes, sir, Heat culture. They only always bring it. And it's like, well, they just suspended their best player for 8 games, and
they're not very good. Yeah, that's the epitome. And then if you go to the NBA app tomorrow, the funniest thing I've ever seen on Twitter was after the Celtics Thunder game on Sunday, on Monday, the NBA app, someone took a screenshot and it was like Sunday's best. And there was not a single clip from that game. It was like Lakers against somebody and then Warriors against somebody. It was like Steph Curry making a layup and LeBron James making a dunk. And neither of those games are exciting. And it's like,
what can you do?
I don't feel bad for the NBA, to be honest with you. They're doing it to themselves. Like, remember the play-in piece the NBA.com writer wrote where it was like, this isn't necessarily the matchup that people were hoping for. It's like
the Vegas thing. Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what? It's their own fault. I don't feel bad. And that's why I don't get in that discourse.
The 1 and 2 seed at the time are in this tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nuts.
Yep. It is. Anything else?
And
they play next week. What do you think's going to happen then? I think it'll be a similar game. It'll be an OKC, which will be helpful, but
I'll be contrarian. I think it'll be a very different game. I will say same result. The Cavs win by a couple. I think the adjustments made on both sides, given it was a shootout, the emphasis for both teams will be how do we slow down the offense? I think it'll be effective because they both have really smart coaches and really smart defensive players and the ability to be good defensive teams. instead of 122, 129 or whatever it was, I think it'll be like 102, 109. Less of a shootout, but
It'll be fun. Smoot, I see you. Smoot said, "You guys want to actually talk about the game a bit?" We've been talking about it.
we've been talking games. Smoot.
Yeah. Some games I just don't want to do a quarter by quarter breakdown. It's more like let's just live in the immediate moment afterwards and see how we're feeling.
If you want a quarter by quarter breakdown, go to YouTube and watch the NBA's consolidated highlights.
Yes.
We ain't here for that.
Here's one last thing about the game. Some of these Lou Dort drives make me want to rip my hair out.
I don't know what
pure chaos.
Lou
I
Dort.
we're done with that.
Oh my God. Lou Dort drives generally end up in bad things, whether it's a turnover or a bad shot at the rim. For whatever reason, he made a freaking falling over like Derrick Jones Jr. playoff against the Thunder shot.
Dude, I wanted to throw it.
That'll never, ever go in again. Yeah, Lou is like, if you think about the best Lou games you ever watched, it's all centered around perimeter shooting, catch and shoot, hitting shots, especially when teams are sagging off and begging him. And it's like, boom, and then another boom. And the defense has to adjust. And then Shai's able to get to it. It's like Lou's doing stuff on the perimeter. When he drives, it's like, why?
Yeah.
What are you
it's
doing?
Like, dude, just shoot threes and
play
draw
incredible defense.
Fouls. Like,
yeah, it's nuts, man. It's nuts.
Please. I don't know. All right, we can wrap this up. I do want to say in the comments I saw from Ben early on. Ben says, not to rain on everyone's rain. I may have met parade, but the big social media event for those of us with loved ones in SoCal are those awful fires. If we have any listeners that live in California or have family there, keeping you in our thoughts. Stay safe. It's very scary what's going on there with all the fires. Yeah. Even just before I saw this, it was like near the Hollywood sign, gigantic fire. Yeah. I don't know much about it, but hope everyone is safe.
Yeah. Too much bad stuff going on in the world, man. Like some of it's us being dumb humans. Other stuff is like, man, we can't do anything about this. Tornadoes and hurricanes and fires and be safe.
Crazy stuff. If you live in the city, be safe on the roads tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen, but we might get some snow.
If you live in Dallas, we're getting it down here too, 8 to 10 inches.
Really? Yeah, we're getting like 2 to 3.
What you know about that?
My God. Oh my God. All right, let's wrap this up. I haven't played any sounders. We were just locked the hell in.
We were locked in.
Hopefully you can hear this. We didn't do the sound check before. Can you hear this?
Yes, sir.
Final thing. We can definitely say that SGA out-meted Donovan Mitchell. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening, hanging out with us in the chat. We'll be back during the next game, which I need to see when the next game is. Do you know off the top of your head, Nick?
I think it's Friday against the Wizards, Sixers, one of the two.
Friday against the Knicks at 6:30.
Oh, the Knicks rematch. Yes.
Yep.
MSG.
So we will see. Thank you guys for catching that in the chat. We'll see you then. I don't know who's on that post game off the top of my head, but we'll be there. We'll be back on Sunday as well. Everybody stay safe. See you next time. Adios and Thunder up.